Since the first Polo appeared on our roads back in 1976, it's always been a popular small car choice, and because it's been around for so long, it's given us time to get used to its silly name. I don't know what Polo means in German, but somebody obviously forgot to tell them that it doesn't translate too well. Anyway, putting silly names aside for the time being, we have the estate version on test here, and as is traditional with estate cars, it's not that pretty to look at. And that's a shame, because the more popular hatchback actually looks very good and is nicely proportioned.
There's also a rare and quirky saloon, which VW must have thought a good idea because it gives more choice in the range. In reality though, it's pretty ugly, and its unpopularity will mean selling it again will be a nightmare, so it's definitely one to avoid.
Despite this though, the Polo still has a strong image, and it's got that rare commodity for a small car: class. Certainly, when it was launched, it was the best Super Mini on the road, but since then the competition has sharpened up its act, and now you've got excellent other cars to choose from, like the Toyota Yaris or the Skoda Fabia.
First impressions when you drive it is how solid it feels for a small car. In fact, it's as solid as any VW from this era, and this translates into giving you a real feeling of safety and security. And this perception of safety was also borne out in the Euro NCAP crash tests. The strong body helped this third generation Polo to score a better than average 3 stars. Do try not to run over anyone though, as it only scored 1 star for pedestrian safety. The driving position is okay, but you do feel as though you sat a little low down. It certainly doesn't give you that commanding view of the road like you get in the Toyota Yaris. It's fine for taller people though, as this seat will slide well back and there is lots of headroom, but if you are a little bit on the short side, you might just find yourself needing a cushion so you're not peering over the steering wheel.
With the exception of a slightly stiff gearbox, the controls are light and easy to use, and this makes for a pleasant and relaxing drive. This is also helped by the fairly soft suspension, which soaks up bumps admirably, albeit a little noisily. The downside for this relaxed ride though is a fair amount of body roll through the corners, so if you are a keen driver, just be aware that the Polo is not at its best when being pushed hard.
One thing to be really careful of when choosing a Polo is engine choice, as this can really make or break the car. This one's the 1.9 SDI diesel, and I was wondering what the S stood for until I got in and drove it. It certainly cannot be described as fast, but in its defence it is frugal. If you are a diesel fan, I'd go for the 1.9 TDI that was introduced in '98. It's much more modern and a much better unit. Noise in the cabin is generally good, and wind noise is especially low, which makes motorway journeys a lot less wearing. My only complaints are that this diesel is not quite as quiet as its more modern equivalent, and you do get some noise through the chassis over rougher roads.
Squeaks and rattles are rare as well, so don't accept them, even on high mileage cars. Interior space is acceptable and about average for its class. I was expecting a bit more legroom in the estate than the hatchback, but actually there's not much difference. It's not dreadful by any means, but with the driver's seat right back, it can get pretty tight. Where the estate should and does score over the hatchback is boot space. Certainly if you have young children, it can mean the difference between getting all your gubbins in or not. And once you've messed about with the headrests, the seats fold flat nicely as well, giving you a decent load lugging space. It's just a shame that VW didn't bother to make it a proper estate car and get rid of that boot lip, which would have made loading and unloading a lot easier. Perhaps they were saving money to give you more toys. Certainly later models like this tend to be pretty well spec'd with the niceties and the necessities, but exclusion of a simple on-off button for the passenger airbag means that baby seats are a no-no in the front. Used prices reflect its good image and popularity, but this does mean you're unlikely to find a cheap one. Once you have splashed out, running costs are a bit higher as well, but unlike some cars in the VW range, the Polo has a reliability record to rival the Japanese, and this should save you time, money and hassle in the long run, but it is worth paying extra for a service history.
So after driving this car, I can tell you it's safe, it's well built, and it's a pleasant enough drive. In fact, it does all this with ruthless efficiency. And perhaps that's the problem, because it's dull. In fact, this car does dull better than most cars I've driven. And that's not really a criticism, it's just a fact. And a warning, because if you are looking for excitement, you're not going to find it here.
So in summary, this third generation Polo proves itself to still be an excellent small car. It might not be as clever or spacious or cheap as some of its rivals, but that's made up for in build quality and a bulletproof reliability record. Its good image also means that it's never out of place, even in the most well-to-do of leafy suburbs. So just as long as you buy one with an engine to suit its use, and you're not expecting fireworks or excitement, then you're very unlikely ever to regret buying one.